podcast. It's good to have you here on the show today. Obviously, I think over the test of time, we have proven to both be on the right side of history, and we have proven to be a source of news without the amygdala hijack. It's very good to have you here. If it's your first time watching the show, please do go ahead and click that follow button. Do find us over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever your favorite podcast is. We are currently broadcasting live up on YouTube, Twitch. We're also on Substack, and we're on TikTok. We're on TikTok while we can. So go ahead and click that follow button. But don't just stream the show live. Go find the Ignition News on Spotify or Apple Podcasts so you can get those daily updates. Listen, we live in a time where the media is actively being censored, filtered, where content is being manipulated by billionaires. And now, of course, just a minor bit of breaking news. We know that Time Warner has been acquired by Paramount instead of Netflix. So Larry Ellison, his decrepit old orange body, what is it with these old billionaires and turning orange? I don't understand it. He bought this vanity project, and now we're going to see more consolidation in the media. You see it happening all the time. Information is harder and harder to find, but that is where we are here. Before we get into the show, I do need to give some recognition out to some people who've been supporting the show and our efforts. Amber, Raylo, Ashley, I don't know how to... Puma, Christina, Potato, Katya, CC, LD in Brooklyn, and Adams all chipped in over at the Buy Me a Coffee site. Massive week there. It helps. Thank you for who just did that. Thank you very much for the confetti, Jagworks. I appreciate it. So thanks for helping the show out. It helps me to stay in the game, and I appreciate it a lot. Let's get into the top stories. There's really only one story, isn't there? There's only one story right now. This morning, March 1st, we woke up to 3 flagged drape coffins. 3 American service members were killed in a war that did not exist a week ago, a war incidentally launched without a single vote of your Congress, and a war that was launched from a fucking golf resort. Now, you have 3 families in America who are getting a knock on the door that no family wants to get. And the president who sent them there was rubbing shoulders, getting orange makeup on their clothes with donors while this all happened. Welcome to the Ignition News. I want to actually talk about a story that's not going to seem connected at first, but it's how the manosphere got its way into the Pentagon. And I think it's informative. So, yeah, like I said, let me get started at that. I promise you by the end of today's show, this is going to make sense of why I'm talking about this. But I want to talk about normalizing an ideology. This actually came from The Guardian today. It was a piece looking at some researchers have been tracking for a while. Incel slang. If you know what incel slang is, it's gone completely mainstream, obviously, in TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all those places. But now it's in the United States Department of Defense. If you're not familiar, the term incel means involuntary celibate. It started in the 90s as a support community for lonely people, but it has taken over and been hijacked as a bastion for profound misogyny. They call it black pill. I'm just giving you some background here. The black pill ideology came to dominate these spaces, and it created a fixed hierarchy of human value. In black pill ideology, women are objects who owe men access to their bodies. And at the bottom of those hierarchy is just a bunch of lonely men justified in their rage. This is a worldview that was produced by Elliot Rodger, who killed 6 people in 2014 after posting a manifesto about being denied sex by women. This is the worldview that produced the Toronto van attack in 2018 and is a movement that the Texas Department of Safety labeled as an emerging domestic terrorism threat. And you probably heard some of the terminology coming out of it, like looks maxing or beard maxing. Beard maxing. Yes, I do admit I do the beard maxing. I was complaining about my beard the other day. I got a beard trimmer. I went at it. It looks great. Then you move up the hierarchy. Obviously, there's all kinds of terms: mogging, sigma, all these things. Gym maxing, money maxing, sleep maxing, all these things. So that language has obviously laundered itself into mainstream culture through TikTok, Reddit, through amplification by Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and it's made its way to the Pentagon. So we're talking about the war in Iran. Pete Hegseth's Department of Defense just used the term lethality maxing. That's right. The Pentagon, the institution that just sent American troops to die in Iran and now 3 American troops are dead, is borrowing vocabulary from a subculture built on the premise that human beings are ranked by genetics, that women are subhuman objects, and that rage is justified when the hierarchy does not deliver what you are owed. This is not a coincidence. When you look at the American political arena, you have Trump pushing a vision of America where a specific person belongs. Of course, looks maxing is built on this European beauty standard. The language of this has made its way not into the mainstream, but into the Department of Defense. Onto Rebel Radio. I guess I'm guilty of using it. My beard maxing. The point is, I mean, there's many points here, but the point is, when you have incels running the United States military, well, I think it speaks for itself. They called it lethality maxing. Insane. Welcome to the Ignition News, everybody. Let's get on to the next story. Let's talk about the people who are supposed to stop what is happening in Iran. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries. Not only have Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries failed to clearly oppose Trump's war in Iran, they've been actively working behind the scenes to slow walk or block a war powers resolution that would put every member of Congress on record. This is the posture of the Democratic Party as 3 American service members are dead. The families of those people owe them their lives. They've given up their lives in service of this country, whether you agree with the war in Iran or not. That part is very clear. Here's what Chuck Schumer said recently. Iran must never be allowed to attain a nuclear weapon, but the American people do not want another endless and costly war in the Middle East. He said the administration has not provided Congress with critical details. And there's one thing he did not say. He did not say no. Hakeem Jeffries called Iran a, quote, bad actor that, quote, must be aggressively confronted. He complained about the lack of congressional authorization, where progressive voices like AOC, Thomas Massie, I'm calling Thomas Massie's a progressive now. This is insane. AOC said this war is unlawful, unnecessary, and will be catastrophic. Bernie Sanders called it unconstitutional and invoked the lie of Vietnam and Iraq. Senator Chris Van Hollen said Trump is, quote, lying to the American people as he launches an illegal regime-changing war. What the president did was unconstitutional. The president has to seek approval from Congress to go to war. Oh, yesterday you heard all these chuds. It's not war. It's a military action. Obama did it. Biden did it. Clinton did it. It's not a war. And meanwhile, like, it's every one of those profiles is like, I mean, my glasses are way too sexy for this, so this isn't really fair, you know? Every one of these profiles is some guy with those Oakley shades like that. Obama did it. Obama did it. Blah. It's quite clear. The Constitution is very clear. The president, only Congress has the ability to declare war. Oh, but it isn't war. The fucking president called it a war in his speech about the fucking military action. He said, we're at war with Iran. Get over yourself. You got Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie trying to force through this war powers resolution. But let me just be very clear with you. Democrats are not upset that there is a war in Iran. They are upset that they didn't get to vote for the war in Iran. And now we know from exclusive reporting that Senate Democrats in particular, this is their actual strategy. Here we go. Here's the quote. Some key Senate Democrats actually believe Iran needed to be dealt with militarily. They understand that a war in the Middle East would be politically catastrophic for whoever owns it. And so they made a calculation. Let Trump start it. Let Iran and Trump take the blow and reap the benefits in the midterm. Let's hear that again. Some Democrats are not opposing the war, not because they think it's wrong. They are strategically supporting it by not opposing it, so Republicans bear the political cost, while American men and women bear the political cost, both with their own bodies and lives and your tax dollars, while we legitimize the war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu, let me say that again. While we legitimize the political power of a war criminal who flew to Washington, D.C. a week ago, probably with a folder reminding the president about the Epstein files, and then we launch a war in Iran. Let me give you some context here. In 2002, Chuck Schumer voted to authorize the use of military force in Iraq. He was one of 29 Senate Democrats who gave George W. Bush the green light for a war built on lies. Lies about weapons of mass destruction. And now 24 years later, 20 fucking 4 years later, longer ago than my son. My son's not even 24. As a new president, a Republican president prepares for a different catastrophe in the desert, Chuck Schumer is once again finding procedural reasons to say, oh. Of course, the Democrat, they have learned. What they have learned is you can be complicit in a war and still win midterm elections. At least this is their plan. This is not an opposition political party. This is managed capitulation. This is opposition in name only. Chuck Schumer, Charles Schumer, said one of his most important duties was to make sure Israel got all of the funding that it needed. Let me pull up the quote exactly so I don't misquote it, because this is historic and it's banality. Let me pull up the quote. It's important. It's important. I gotta be on it. As DHS ravages United States, Schumer says his job is to, quote, fight for aid to Israel. Days before the remarks, the Trump administration bypassed Congress to approve $7 billion arms sale in Israel. Chuck Schumer, his job is to, quote, fight for aid to Israel. My Senator Jackie Rosen, she issued a strongly worded milquetoast statement. Again, it's not that they don't want to go to war with Iran. They're mad that they didn't get to vote for war in Iran. But actually, as we now know, this is perfect for them. They don't have to vote for it. They can stand off on the sidelines and pretend that they oppose it while they get their fucking checks from AIPAC. My dog's getting stressed out. My dog's stressed out because he can tell I'm on my roll, my rant now. It's like, oh no. Kodak opposes war aid to Israel, okay? And he opposes it, as do we all. It's kind of unbelievable. I'm sorry. I wish I could be a little bit more focused here. I wish I could. It's hard though. It's tough. I said I'm not moving past my rant yet. I said this in a different form. Our legacy as millennials is going to be that we allowed the government to kill brown babies while we stood in line to get our iPhones. You know? And it's really sad. Let's talk about those 3 service members. Welcome to the Ignition News. Please do consider following us on your favorite podcast platform. We do really need to grow on our podcast sphere because obviously TikTok, YouTube, all those places are actively censoring. The government has not yet figured out the podcast sphere and how to censor that. So do follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever your favorite podcast format is. And I will just take a brief note to let you know. I often hear people say, why are you on Spotify? Spotify does ICE commercials. Let me just explain why. Number one, I tried to be elsewhere, but Spotify is and remains the best way to distribute a podcast across multiple platforms. What I do with that is I allow it to be on 17 different platforms from that RSS feed, which allows you to get it anywhere else that you need it if you don't choose to participate on Spotify. Number two, the kinds of people who don't have your views are precisely the kinds of people that we need to reach. And number three, in the age of fighting fascism, you have to be honest with yourself. Spotify is doing ICE ads, Amazon's AWS supports DHS, ICE, the federal government. Tim Cook, Apple provides iPhones, 20,000 iPhones to ICE. None of these billionaires' hands are clean. But if you don't want to follow me on Spotify, I understand. I've given you 17 different ways to find the show. So keep it up. On Sunday morning, U.S. Central Command confirmed it. 3 American service members were killed in Iran. 5 were seriously wounded, several others with minor shrapnel injuries. And this is just the beginning. Obviously, this war started on Saturday morning when, coordinating with Israel, we launched missile strikes on Iran. We do know now officially that the strike killed Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, something like 40 top commanders. The president announced it in an 8-minute video that he posted to social media, which I will say was clearly edited and clearly sped up. He was wearing this white USA hat. He looks like Emperor Palpatine right now. I gotta say, I was looking at that photo. He looks like Emperor Palpatine right now. Defense Secretary Pete Kegsbreth said it is the most lethal, most complex, and most precision aerial operation in U.S. history. He said the U.S. did not start the conflict, blah, 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 blah. The president, who ran as a peacetime president, you remember seeing those signs on the side of the road? Trump, no new wars. Kamala, war. Do you remember seeing those signs? Trump, lower prices. Kamala, higher prices. Do you remember seeing this? These people believe in nothing. 3 moms, 3 dads, 6 grandparents, maybe kids, uncles, aunts today had to wake up and hear that their family had been killed while the president is sitting at a golf club shaking hands with billionaires. How do these 3 stories connect? Well, you have a government that is absorbed in the language and the logic of a misogynist, racist online subculture. They are, quote, maxing lethality. You have a Democratic opposition that is not any kind of opposition at all. And you have a president who ran on peace, who is now running a war, who sat at a party while 3 flag-draped coffins were getting their way to head back to the United States and their families. He surrounds himself with the most incompetent people. A defense secretary who leaked signal chats about a strike on Yemen. It's a bunch of Nazis in a clown car is what it actually is. But let me take you back to 1964. Let me tell you not just what's happening, but what has happened in the past and why it is important for you to recognize that you are on the right side of history. On August 7th, 1964, the United States Senate voted 88-2 to pass the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, giving Lyndon Johnson a blank check to escalate the war in Vietnam. 2 senators who voted no were Wayne Morse of Oregon and Ernest Gruning of Alaska. 2 men against 88 men. And they were right. The resolution, by the way, was based on a fabricated incident, right? Like nuclear weapons in Iran. The intelligence was manipulated. The Gulf of Tonkin attack that was used to justify the war, the second attack, the one that triggered the vote, almost certainly never happened. And 58,000 Americans and more than 2 million Vietnamese died in the war that followed. Wayne Morse stood on the floor of the Senate and he said, "I believe that history will record that we have made a great mistake in subverting the Constitution of the United States. I believe that within the next century, future generations will look with dismay and great sorrow upon a Congress which is now about to make such a historic mistake." And he was right. But being right cost him. He lost his Senate seat in 1968 as a result of that vote. Today, you have people like Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. They are the Wayne Morse and Ernest Grunings of this moment. A Democrat and a Republican standing together trying to force a vote to at least put your cowardly little fucking senators and your cowardly little fucking representatives on the record. Do you want this war or do you not want this war? And Chuck fucking Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, these weak little jellyfish spine men, are standing on the sidelines because they don't even have the balls to force a vote. The lesson of history today. I'm trying to weave back in some Rebel Radio back into the show to give you inspiration and mission. The lesson for today is resistance is in fact not futile. The lesson for today is that people who resist in the moment are always, almost always in the minority. Always at the moment it counts. And they are always vindicated by history. And people always look back at them and they recognize that they were fucking right. And in the United States of America, it is not so much that we have a mass wave of people standing saying yes and a small group of people saying no. We have millions of America led by hundreds of politicians who are just pretending that none of this is happening, who go about their day, who go about their lives, pretending that we didn't just fucking start a war. We distracted from a president credibly accused of being a pedophile. And we went and we killed a bunch of little kids in Iran, 80 kids at a daycare, purportedly. To distract from the abuse of kids, we went and killed a bunch of kids. 3 Americans died in a war that did not exist a week ago, a war that did not have to exist. We killed almost the entire leadership in Iran, leaving those people with no plan of how to succeed. And somehow we think this is going to just work itself out. These people can't even come up with good names. Operation Epic Fury? The people who stopped the war in Vietnam did not stop it by giving up. They stopped it by making the political cost of continuing greater than the political cost of ending it. That means pressure. Pressure. People like Ro Khanna, people like Thomas Massie, and people like you. You are on the right side of history. All of these people that supported this, they will look back. People will look back and they will see them for what they are. But it's more important now that you take a stand now and that you do not give up. Of course, my lawyer would like to remind you that on the Ignition News, we do not support or condone violence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a substantial difference between nonviolence and not being inconvenient. Or not being convenient, I guess is what you would say. We have people. I went to a mall yesterday, and there was thousands of people at this mall, and they were walking around acting like nothing had changed. Like we weren't at war with a country. Like we didn't just bomb a whole ass country and kill their entire leadership. The shops are the same. The cinema is the same. The concerts, the people, all the same. The forms were the same, but I made the lifelong mistake of mistaking the forms for the spirit. People need to start waking up. We need to start having the challenging conversations out in public, out at dinner, out at coffee. This show is called The Ignition News because we believe the fire of resistance has to start somewhere. That resistance begins with information, that you cannot fight what you cannot name. So let me do the following. We are at war with a country based on false information on behalf of a foreign government who has captured most of our Congress, who, in addition to taking billions of dollars of our money, robbing you of your infrastructure, your healthcare, your child's education, is benefiting them, their safety, their security, a country that is completely capable of defending itself. The United States government essentially made an app like Uber or DoorDash. If you bribe the president or his family, you can rent the military to change regimes. But keep your eye on the prize. That's the Ignition News, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. It's March 1st, 2026. This has been the Ignition News.